Good evening, and welcome to another video on All How the Ale. Tonight we are going for a beer from Samuel Smith's Brewery. Which one is it? Is this one? It is Sam's Brown Ale that's alcohol free. And what can I tell you about it? Not a huge amount. It's alcohol free beer brewed by Samuel Smiths of Tadcaster. They are indeed the brewery who have, shall we say, interesting senior management. We'll leave it at that. If you want to comment in the comment section below what you think of their kind of slightly left field, weird style of management, do so. Anyway, it's 0.5% ABV, and it says on the back, it's a superior alcohol-free ale, dark brown in colour, with mahogany highlights and a lingering tight Ecru head. That's not a colour you see mentioned very often, Ecru. I think the last time I ever saw that colour mentioned was somewhere back in the 90s when it was describing Reebok Classics. So yeah. It says, the nose is malt forward and the beer is dry and satisfying. The dry malty character is an excellent complement to spicy food. The bottle label is based on an advertising poster used by the brewery in the 1950s. Well, it's good that it's complementing spicy food, because I've just had a rather delicious homemade Szechuan crispy chili beef. So this might just go nicely. So yeah, going back to that label, you know, it's typical of that era. It's really pretty cool. Yeah, I like it. It stands out. And of course, you've got the foil-coated bottle lid, which just adds a little something of panache to the whole thing. So, without further ado, we're going to open it and see what we think. Can find the bottle opener there for a second. I think the last time I saw foil on a bottle of beer was Holston Pills back in the day. Anyway, pour into Northern Monk glass. The pour is brown. See if we can encourage some of that tight Ecru head. There we go. So we have, indeed, a very dark beer with mahogany highlights, as they imply. You know, right at the edges of the bottom of the glass, you have got a little bit of something going on there. And you do indeed have a pretty tight, some would call it Ecru, some would say off-white light tanned head. And yeah, it's a good looking beer. You know, that is arguably one of the best heads I've had on an alcohol-free beer. I cannot fault it from appearance. That is spot on. It says it's malt forward on the nose. Shall we find out? It is malt forward. It actually smells really, really authentic. It's got those dark roasted malts and dark fruits coming through as well. There's almost stout-like aromas here. A little bit of coffee, a little bit of licorice. It smells really, really good. This is arguably the best smelling alcohol-free beer I've had. It's so full of promise. It really is. So it looks good. The head, while dissipating, still looks good. Smells incredible. Does it taste good? Cheers. That's nice. It's light on the body. It really is light. It could do with lifting, but the flavours, it's kind of a caramel malt with a little bit of the aromas are much more in your face than the taste. The taste is much more subtle. It is caramel malt. There is a subtle sweetness behind it. It's not as dark as the aromas suggest in terms of the flavour, but it is very nice. There's a subtle, very subtle bitterness, but not a huge amount. It is absolutely the maltiest alcohol-free beer I've had, and it's not that hideous sweet malt either. It's a really sort of well-rounded, it's not robust, it's well-rounded, but it's got flavour. I like. That's got to be the best tasting dark alcohol-free beer I've had to date. Yeah. It's full of promise. It could just do with a few little tweaks to make it exceptional, but hands down the tastiest dark alcohol-free beer I've had. So before we go to the scores, I've kind of given some of it away anyway. We're going to go to the Aid Memoir from Untapped, and it's had 950 check-ins and an average score of 3.13, which, you know, that is one of the better alcohol-free beers when you look at the Untapped sort of scores as a whole, and it's got one of the higher sort of check-ins as well, which is quite nice to see. So it's not just one or two people who've given it a slightly artificially sort of high score. So it's good to know that it is well received. So what do I think of it? Well, we're going to judge it on the 5 pillars of judgment, as always: the looks, the aroma, the body, the taste, and the finish. So we're going to pour the rest out, just so we can reassess those rather nice looks. I mean, look at it. You've got a head for days. It is really tight. They're not lying. I mean, if I can get that to focus, look at that. That is tight as a drum. Really is. I cannot fault the looks. That is a really good looking glass of beer. Whatever is in the glass, it does look stunning. So I can't fault that at all. It gets a full point. Anything less would be an injustice. The aromas were really, really, really good. There was that dark roasted malt. There was that sort of raisins, you know, those steeped raisins that you might sort of associate with a Christmas cake. A little bit of coffee. A little bit of that licorice. It's spot on the aroma as well. It's got to get a full point. Anything less would be a travesty, really. Now, the body. It is light. It is light. It's not thin, but it is light. I would like a little bit of a lift in the body department. Those dark beers kind of give you that sensation in your mind of being velvety and sort of comforting and slightly cloying, if you will. And it's not quite there. It's really, really good, but it's not quite there. It's going to get a half on that one, just because it just needs that body to really propel it up the scoreboard. Taste, it's good taste. You get that sweet caramel, that nice sort of balanced malt, not hugely hopped in any way, shape or form, but it is good. There is an element of chocolate, and it's a really smooth milk chocolate type flavour that's coming through. And you get a tiny hint of some of those sort of dark fruits that have just been steeped in something that just come through here and there, but it is light on the flavour. It's really good. It just needs more intensity on the flavour. It's going to get a half on that one as well. And the finish, you know, I didn't pay much attention to the finish because, I don't know, it is short. It is short. It is sweet. It's perhaps a little lackluster in the finish, I will say. I would hope that some of those roasted malts would have just sort of propelled it all the way through. But, you know, it's difficult, I understand, to get those really dark roasted malts in without making it overly bitter and just generally not well thought out. Like I say, I look for longevity and I look for intensity on the finish, regardless really of the style. It's short, it's sweet, but it's not intense. It's going to get another half from me on that one. So 1, 2, in fact, 3.5 out of 5 on the old Untapped score sheet of joy, which really is my score sheet of joy this time. So yeah, 3.5. It is easily the tastiest alcohol-free beer I've had of the darker variety. I mean, it looks great. I mean, look, you've got some lovely lacing going on the glass there. You might not be able to pick it up if the lighting isn't right, but yeah, it's lacing nicely around the glass. That's one of the first times I've seen that on a good alcohol-free beer. Yeah, it is exceptionally good. It's not exceptionally good, but it is very good nonetheless. So, ladies and gents, boys and girls, Sam's Brown Ale. Rather nice. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments section below. Speaking of which, down there are the buttons. You know exactly what to do with them. You got the like, dislike, comment, and subscribe. Choose any combination of them as you wish. I'm going to go and drink the rest of this beer, get the video uploaded for your viewing pleasure, and I will see you again soon for another one.